Another look at the prayer of Jabez. Just because my mother called me a pain doesn't mean I have to be one. There are several stories in the Bible of parents giving names to their infants to mark pain in the parent's life. Genesis 35:16. Then they, Jacob and Rachel, moved on from Bethel. While they were still some distance from Ephrath, Rachel began to give birth and had great difficulty. And as she was having great difficulty in childbirth, the midwife said to her, "Don't despair, for you have another son." And as she breathed her last, for she was dying, she named her son Ben-Oni, son of my trouble. But his father named him Benjamin, son of my right hand. In his grief, Jacob could have let Rachel's last words stand as a memorial to her. However, Jacob had the wisdom to know that his dying wife's pain was not to be transferred to his little baby boy. Wisely, Jacob decided to say no, that he was not going to call his son that painful name. Instead, Jacob named the baby Benjamin, son of my right hand. Benjamin had an advocate for not allowing his mother's pain to be assigned to him for the rest of his life. Unfortunately, Jabez did not have a spokesman to persuade his mother to give him a more positive start in his life with a different name. Jabez's mother introduced him to the world as her pain. She gave Jabez's brothers, as it were, permission to tease him. I can imagine them taunting him by yelling, "Come here, you little pain." In class, the teacher called on him by saying, "Pain, stand up and answer the question." No matter where he went, 24/7, by virtue of his name, he was reminded that he represented pain. If you were Jabez, how do you think that would shape your emotional well-being, your mental health, and your worldview? His coming into the world causing pain for his mother was something over which he had no control, nor does any baby. Jabez was a helpless infant. His mother's experience is not his experience, yet she labeled him from birth as a child of her misery. She unabashedly accused him of a fault, as if he deliberately inflicted pain on her. Jabez could have despaired of life. Here he was, a healthy child, but his mother couldn't see past her short-term, fleeting pain. The fact is, for most women, all childbirth is painful. It's the minority of women who don't feel any pain in labor. Researchers at Cambridge University have discovered that around 1 in 100 women carry a variation of a gene called KCNG4 that is thought to raise their pain threshold and act like a natural epidural. While Jabez is being called a pain every day, somewhere he's been introduced to God. He began to see God as the God of love and compassion. Jabez realized that if he allowed his mother's view of him to engulf his soul, he would have pain his entire lifetime. Jabez had to do what his mother would not or could not do. He had to seek God's assistance to see past his mother's pain and her negative feelings toward him. 1 Chronicles 4:9, Jabez was more honorable than his brothers. His mother had named him Jabez, saying, "I gave birth to him in pain." Jabez cried out to the God of Israel, "Oh, that you would bless me and enlarge my territory. Let your hand be with me and keep me from harm so that I will be free from pain." And God granted his request. Jabez went to God, his maker, God who is present at his birth, and prayed a sincere, simple prayer of only 29 words, at least in the NIV. Jabez was determined he was not going to own or embrace his mother's words. Jabez asked God to free him of his mother's assessment of him. Jabez asked God to break, as it were, his mother's curse on him. Jabez's mother set him in a constricted land called pain. Jabez wanted freedom from that land. Jabez went to God with his request to be released from his mother's narrow view and labeling of him. God heard his prayer and set him free from that which his mother spoke. The boundaries she set for him were lifted, broken, and trampled into the dust. God answered Jabez's short and to the point prayer. From Jabez's story, I see lessons for parents, guardians, teachers, and for those victimized by those limiting them. Parents, don't blame your children for your pain. Parents, don't give negative names or labels to your children. Parents, speak blessings and God's promises over your children. Parents, do not allow others to speak negatively of your child, and don't speak negatively of other people's children. Parents, give your child a name that reinforces their worth. And if you have been the victim of these negative names and negative appellations and low expectations, as an adult or a young adult, or even as a child, don't let people, teachers, parents, other people assign you blame for their feelings or emotions based on their issues. Ask God to free you from the narrow boundaries that even your parents or other people have assigned to you when you were a helpless child or even as an adult. Understand that God has a plan for your life. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Be like Jabez. Go to God and pray that your life will be freed from pain and the narrow or low expectations for your life. God has a blessing indeed for you. Yes, pray the prayer of Jabez. Jabez prayed, "Oh, that you would bless me." You ask God, you go to God, acknowledge God is in charge of blessing you. Jabez prayed, "Enlarge my territory." Yes, you go ask God to release you from low expectations or restrictions over how far you will go in life. Jabez prayed, "Let your hand be with me." Romans 8:31 says, "What shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? If God be for us, who can be against us?" Jabez prayed, "Keep me from harm." Proverbs 18:10, "The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe." God is no respecter of persons. God granted Jabez his request. I believe God will grant you your prayer too. May your life be blessed by God Almighty.